Hey, I'm Jessica, and welcome to Reality Check. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode where I check off your list with episode 1 of Perfect Match Season 3. I'm so excited to start talking about a new show. It's been a while, right? Like Love Island lasted 6 weeks, and that was the only show I was recapping, and I feel like Love Island started in June. So it's been a while. It's already August, so I am so excited to just talk about a new show. And funny enough, I don't even know if I've finished a whole season of Perfect Match in the past. I can't recall, which is why I feel like I haven't. I know I've started both season 1 and 2, but I don't know if I've finished it. Maybe I finished season 1. I remember season 1 because that was the season with Giannina and Damien. And I remember that was like, oh my gosh, they're going to see each other. Weren't they like coupled up with each other at one point? Someone put them with each other. I don't know, but I just feel like I didn't even remember when I was watching it. I'm like, what's the concept of this show? Do they win a prize in the end? And I couldn't remember it. So this was kind of like a breath of fresh air watching it from watching it from like a newbie, I guess, let's just say perspective, because I could literally not even remember what the premise of the show was. And when I saw Nick Lachey was hosting the show, I was like, this guy again? Did he always host this show? I mean, good for him. Like, he has a few Netflix shows up his belt, and that's what he does for a living. And I mean, that's the goal, isn't it? So good for him. I think he's a fine host. I think he does a good job. He does this one by himself without Vanessa. I think he does a fine job. But anyways, that literally, he has goals, I would say. My goal. That'd be so cool, hosting a Netflix show. And he has how many? But anyways, I think this cast is a pretty stacked cast. I do. Like, you have AD. You have Clayton from The Bachelor. Obviously, you have Ollie from Love Island UK. You have Madison from Love is Blind. And I didn't even realize that was her because on Love is Blind, she had pink hair. So I see her with blonde hair and then I'm hearing her talk. I'm like, wait a second. That's Madison from Love is Blind. There was Sandy from The Ultimatum. I loved Sandy. And I don't know when Rachel is coming in, but Rachel is coming in and I cannot wait for that because, I mean, I'll talk about her past history with Clayton. That was, I'm excited to see their interaction, and I'm curious to know if they've ever talked since, I mean, I guess it would have been since after the final rose on Clayton. No, yeah, on Clayton's season of The Bachelor. So I'm so curious. Is someone gonna pair them up together? Now that I know now that I remember the premise of the show, I'm like, oh my gosh, like so much can happen. I'm excited. Like if someone wanted to pair them together to kind of just like make things spicy, well, they will. And it's looking like maybe that will happen because Clayton looks like he's in the weakest couple. Like it doesn't look like Juliet is that into Clayton, at least, you know, from what I've seen in this first episode. The interesting thing about this show too is there's no cash prize. And it really, you know, I mean, okay, you could say that makes it about love and that makes it that you really do want to form a genuine connection. Although I would love to believe that at the end of the day, more shows equals more exposure, equals more followers, equals more brand deals. So as much as there is no cash prize at the end and all you're winning is an all expense paid trip to anywhere in the world of your choosing, like, yeah, of course, that's sick. I'd love to know the details of that though. Like, is it a maximum amount of money that you're allowed? And is it actually anywhere in the world? Like, could someone be like, oh, I want to go to Antarctica? Well, obviously they're not going to, but like, you know what I mean? Like, can they actually go anywhere in the world? I mean, I would choose, if I had to choose, I would choose Bora Bora could be cool. Bali could be a good option, a solid option. And I mean, I would love to go to Hawaii, but I don't think I would do like an all expense paid anywhere I want to go, I would choose Hawaii. No, it's definitely, I would say, on my list. And for these people, they're living in the States, so they're not going to choose anywhere. I mean, actually, some of them are from the UK. And one guy I find out is from Toronto. Anyways, there I have so much to say. First, okay, let me just get into that. Daniel is from Toronto. I had no idea, never watched Daniel's show. I can't even remember what show he was on. And Juliet is like, oh yeah, he's Canadian, he's from Toronto, he has I love his accent. And I'm like, this guy doesn't have an accent. Like, okay, I live in Toronto, obviously, you guys know that, and there is definitely a Toronto accent. There definitely is. Like, if you're from Toronto, you know the Toronto accent. But Daniel does not have a Toronto accent. Beldasha had more of a Toronto accent than Daniel did. Beldasha definitely had a Toronto accent, even though Beldasha wasn't from Toronto. Elan also from Love Island. He was from the GTA. He was from like the Toronto area. He didn't have a Toronto accent. He's not from Toronto, but I could tell he was Canadian just by the way that he spoke. I cannot tell that Daniel is Canadian by his quote unquote accent. I feel like every American just feels like Canada is this super far place, and we just have, this big accent, and we sound so different, and I'm sorry, but that is just not the case. I get it. Yes, Toronto technically there is an accent, but it's not what Juliet is saying at all. Like, at all. So I thought that was just so funny because, I mean, it's just, you have no idea. Like, I want her to know what the Toronto accent is. And I don't even think he sounds like he has a Canadian accent. I've been told that I have a really strong Canadian accent. Obviously, our American friends have told me that. And I don't see it whatsoever. I definitely don't have a Toronto accent. I don't see that I have a Canadian accent. Like, there definitely are certain words that I say, obviously, like, hey, that's Canadian. Certain words that I say definitely sound Canadian, but, I'm not going around and saying my garage. I'm not going around and saying milk. That's super Canadian. So anyways, I don't know, but I just thought that was so funny because not only does he not have a Toronto accent, he does not sound Canadian. So anyways, moving on. I think, honestly, everyone just looks so good. I think, like I said, it's a stacked cast, but everyone really it's a hot cast. And I think what's also interesting about this show is AD and Ollie, we're going to see their love story form. And this is where they met. I mean, okay, this is also my question, is you see in this episode, the first episode, as soon as they see each other, they're hooked. Like, they're captivated. They're arm in arm. He's always like touching her. They're making out. They have super strong chemistry that looks very obvious. My question is did they talk prior to the show? Because, I mean, the Love is Blind circle is small. Did they see each other at events? Did they ever talk offline? Like, did AD give Ollie advice? I don't know. Like, to me, there is just no way that they never talked prior to the show. I don't really care that they did, but I just feel like for them to connect that quickly, I don't know. I feel like there had to have been definitely a time that they chatted, DMs were flying, like there has to be. But anyways, it's cool that we get to see their love story unfold on the show. We know now that they're engaged and they're expecting a child. So I'm curious to see their love story unfold. And I think, I mean, for this episode, I can see it. Like, I can buy it. I'm not like, let's say they despised each other in the first episode, and I'm like, wait a second, these two are engaged and are, wanting to get married and are expecting a child, then I'd be questioning things. But no, I mean, I got it from this episode. Are things going to change later on? Who knows? But I think it's nice that we already know that they're happy, in love, and thriving. So I think watching the show from that lens, knowing that they are happy and thriving, I think is really cool. And we can see, just their love story unfold. So I'm only going to be recapping the first episode today. I've literally only watched the first episode. Netflix dropped 6 episodes total. So going forward, I'll probably be recapping maybe 2, maybe 3 at a time. But I prefer to also just keep my updates small because, first of all, they're going to get so long. But I also like to get kind of detailed with my updates. Like if I'm recapping 4 episodes at a time, I could get detailed, but I'm also going to be talking for 4 hours, right? So anyways, the next recap will be probably episodes 2 and 3, and that's how I'll probably cascade it throughout the season. And I'll do more frequent podcasts, more frequent drops, just so that, I get my recaps out there. Okay, so we have, they come in and they have to do this icebreaker. And honestly, there was really nothing to say much about it. It was just an icebreaker, and it was kind of just like a Plinko challenge. And, you go get a puck, it has someone's face on it, and wherever it lands, you kind of have to do that with that person. But the one thing that I want to say is I think it was Ollie and AD. They got like these yoga poses. And at one point, AD was like literally upside down, like in a bridge. But Ollie's feet were on AD's back, and she's like in a bridge. Like I used to do that when I danced, but like I can't do that now at 33 years old. Like I would literally be seeing stars. My back would be broken and I would be done for. So kudos to AD for, being able to do that, because even though I was able to do that with my eyes closed once upon a time, there would be no way that I could just go into a full back arch in the air. I used to flip. I used to do everything. I was able to do it. Now, I really would. I feel like I'd really hurt myself, and it would take me a long time to recover. I guess, that is old age, but kudos to AD. I was like, good for you. Anyways, we also see that Clayton is very interested in Lucy, and I don't think Lucy is that interested in Clayton. Obviously not, because Clayton and Lucy didn't end up pairing up with each other. That night, they kind of, after this icebreaker thing, they have to mix and mingle and just pair up, right? And it's not really based on anything. And I don't know, like, is there a strategy involved with this show? I guess there is. I have to watch more episodes because honestly, like I said, I don't necessarily remember exactly how everything kind of pans out, but I think there has to be a strategy in some sense, because I'm assuming you need to be a strong couple, because if you win challenges, then you can always go in the boardroom and you can always have control of the game. So I think that is the strategy, to be like, okay, who can I win these ridiculous challenges with and also have a connection with at the same time, because that is the nature of the game, is that you need to have a connection. It's perfect match. And at the end, you go on this all expense paid trip. What if you hate the person and now you have to go on this trip? Like, no. So the whole point of the show is to form a connection. I don't remember how, like, the people win at the end. Do you get voted in? I wouldn't see why you'd get voted. Do you have to win? I don't know. And that's why I think it's cool that I can't remember how this show works, because I'm learning as I go. I think that night, it was just everyone, like I said, mix and mingling, and we get our matches. So we have, I believe, our first match, Lucy and Daniel, they match. So that was kind of out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting it at all. They literally were like, you want a match? And then they just started making out. I guess they're probably just really attracted to each other. I'm into this pairing. Again, I was not familiar with Lucy or Daniel. So I'm going to, for episode 1, I'm liking what I'm seeing. but I need to see more of them, more things pan out. I think Lucy is super cute. And I mean, she's from the UK, so she has an accent, like fun to watch, but I just felt like they matched out of nowhere. So we'll see how it goes, you know? And obviously, Juliet was super upset and offended because she really wanted to get to know Daniel more and obviously be matched with him. Clayton was equally as upset because he, right off the gate, was very into Lucy and made that known from the jump, which was not the Clayton that I knew from The Bachelorette and his season from The Bachelor. Even though he's like this giant guy, he's so jacked. Like, was Clayton always that ripped? Even though, you know, he's like this big, he has this big and large exterior, on his seasons, like, he was a teddy bear also too. I mean, there was a lot that went down on his seasons. I want to talk about Clayton separately because that's a whole other thing, and I'll talk about him in a bit. But I don't know. I kind of really like the confidence that he brought into this episode because I feel like he didn't necessarily have that on even his season of The Bachelor, even though he was The Bachelor and got to choose from 30 different women. I feel like he didn't have the confidence that he has now. And I mean, I know that because I follow him on Instagram. He's gone through so much. Again, we'll talk about it. He got into dancing to gain his confidence. And so, yeah, I like that he was outspoken, very different side of him. And I mean, I want Clayton to be happy and find someone on the show because I'm really rooting for him. Again, he's been through a lot. If you are not in the Bachelor Nation kind of world, you probably have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, what he's been through. Again, I'm going to talk about it afterwards because it's a lot and it's heavy. Obviously, AD and Ollie pair up. Surprise, surprise, absolutely not. And again, like, it's cool that they've paired up since day one. So again, I'm very curious to see how that all plays out over the course of the show. For now, they're paired up. No surprises there. Sandy and Louis. So I obviously knew who Sandy was, and I didn't know who Louis was. About a week ago, photos got out that Huda and Louis were like arm in arm in, I don't remember where they were, LA, New York, somewhere. And they were holding hands, walking down the street. I think they even went to an event together, holding hands. And it was literally like days after her getting off the show, off of Love Island. And so everyone's like, what the heck? Like, why? Like, how have you gone off the show and literally within days have just already connected with this guy and are holding hands with each other? So obviously everyone is like, you know, that is just, they're both in it probably for the clout, this and that. And I mean, watching this guy on the show, like I said, I never knew who he was. I could just tell he is a clout chaser. Like, he is. Like, he's been on 3 Netflix shows, which, okay, fine. Like, get your coin. That's fine. He's 23 years old, which is crazy. He does not look 23 years old whatsoever. And so he's super young. And he is, you know, bouncing around with Huda. As soon as she got off the show, like, literally Huda, as much as you can say what you want to say about her, she is one of the biggest reality TV stars that there is out there right now. And so if you're connected to Huda, you are going to be everywhere, right? And so, yeah, just, he is honestly, to me, just giving clout chaser, even just the things that he would say. And, oh yeah, like, I want to make it to the end and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, you want to make it to the end because making it to the end equals more screen time. So he is, to me, the biggest red flag on the show. That is for sure. And I mean, I don't know. It's funny too because everyone that finds out his age on the show, they're like, what? You're 23 years old? Which, you know what though? I really like because, I mean, if he went on Love Island, he would have fit in no problem because everyone was around that age. I even think, wasn't Huda 23 or isn't Huda 23? So what I like about this show is that the cast is older. Like, there's 27, 28. I think Clayton has to be early. I mean, don't quote me, but I would want to I would guess that Clayton is at least 30. Ollie definitely is early 30s. AD, I think is early 30s. So I like that this is an older, I mean, they're still young, but like an older cast, because I mean, typically a lot of the dating shows that we watch, the demographic is super young, right? Especially when you get into The Bachelor, like that demographic is young. And as I'm getting older, it's hard for me to, kind of relate to those girls, because how can you, a 33-year-old, kind of relate with a 23-year-old watching them on TV? So I think that I really liked, and that I really noticed that, I mean, he's a baby, but on Love Island, he may have been, either the oldest or kind of in the middle. Obviously, he wouldn't have been the oldest, but you get it. Then we have Madison and Cody. They match up. And okay, this is where it was kind of confusing to me. So Madison and Clayton were having a conversation, and they literally were like, okay, so do you want to match up? But literally mid-sentence, as they were saying that, Juliet walks in and she's like, excuse me, like, can I pull Clayton for a chat? Okay, also side note is I know pulling for a chat is a Love Island term, but I'm pretty sure that's where people were saying on the show too, which is interesting because that is a very Love Island-y term. Anyway, side note, I noticed that. She comes in and she's like, can I pull him for a chat? So literally mid-conversation, as they're like, you want to match up? You want to match up? They never solidified their matchup. They never said, yeah, let's match up. So she comes in and Clayton's like, please, like, I really just want to finish this conversation. Clayton is no stranger to this kind of stepping in and stepping on toes and interrupting a conversation, because that's exactly what is done on The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. You literally, the end person, the person that ends up with their fiance, let's say at the end of the show, they are literally with the Bachelor or Bachelorette for a total of, I've heard, maximum 72 hours total. So the more time that you can steal them and pull them for a chat, the better, obviously, because you need to spend time with them in order to get engaged after the course of the show. So yeah, Clayton's no stranger to someone coming in and trying to interrupt their conversation. But I thought that was just interesting, because it's like, why did you have to interrupt? Like, you're literally with each other all night. And I guess, okay, maybe she wanted to interrupt to make sure that she partners up with Clayton, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that was her strategy. So she obviously, if that was her strategy, she did good, because they never solidified their matchup. So Juliet and Clayton start talking with each other, and then Madison goes down, and then Madison and Cody all of a sudden are talking and having a really good conversation, and then they pair up. They match up. So then Clayton overhears them like cheering and excited, and obviously he knows that they match up. So he's like, okay, Juliet, you want to match up? So anyways, that was very awkward. To be honest with you, I never saw Clayton and Madison really working. I just didn't see it. I also just didn't necessarily think Madison was that into Clayton. So I do feel like when she had the opportunity to kind of leave and Juliet come in, I feel like she was like, yes, please, because I actually want to be with Cody. So anyways, like I said, it's just too early to tell. I mean, obviously we know how Madison now feels about Cody, because at the end of the episode, she doesn't choose him. I mean, if you had Freddie as an option, I'm choosing Freddie too. So anyways, we'll get to that. What was honestly interesting too, that I have to say about Madison, is we haven't really seen Madison in this capacity on the show. What I mean by that is, on Love is Blind, she was obviously just only in the pods. We never saw her interacting with people, interacting with a guy, like IRL, in real life. Like, it was only behind pods, so we just never really saw, though, even like she was just sitting most of the time. I know that kind of sounds weird, but think about it. Like, we haven't really seen like her mannerism, how she interacts with the guy. Like, it was always just in the pods. And I mean, in the pods, you're gonna say what you want to say in order to win, in order to, make it on to the next step. obviously there was a lot of backlash that Madison had just, from being, I guess, unstable. Is that the word? And, a lot of different things. But obviously she knows what that backlash was. And I found her on this show. I didn't mind her on the show. On Love is Blind, towards the end of her duration on the show, I was like, this girl is, there's stuff going on, there's issues and whatever. Obviously, it's been a while since she has been on Love is Blind. I would assume now it's probably been 2 years. So obviously, someone can change a lot in 2 years. But I just thought that was kind of interesting because, yes, we've seen Madison on our screens, but it was just different this time because a totally different show. And we haven't really seen her interact with men before, which, is, yes, through a screen, but that's very different than like in person and having that banter and stuff like that. Also, too, okay, these conversations are killing me. Like the fact that Netflix kept the Toronto accent one. I mean, I don't think that was really that big for Netflix to keep in, but I thought it was funny. But then also this conversation about where Madison lives with Louis. So obviously Louis is from the UK. And Louis says to Madison, like, where are you from? And she says, Minnesota. And he's like, I don't even know where that is. Which, okay, that is totally fair. Because if you're from the UK, I wouldn't expect him to know where Minnesota was in the US. Like, yes, I would expect him. He would obviously know LA, New York, Chicago, like the big cities. But I don't expect Louis, someone from UK, to know where Minnesota is. The same goes for Madison, somewhere, a small town in England. I wouldn't expect her to know that either. So what was funny, though, is he goes, so where is Minnesota? And she's like, well, Canada? And he's like, oh, you're Canadian. Like, Louis, no. Minnesota is not a province in Canada. So then she's like, no. And then she's trying to describe where Minnesota is on the map. I guess I didn't necessarily realize it was directly right close to Canada. I didn't realize that. Like, obviously there's certain states in the US that is close to Canada. I didn't realize that Minnesota was one. But then Louis proceeds to say like, oh, so close to Alaska? And like, what? And then he thinks that it's walking distance from Minnesota to Alaska to Canada. Like, literally, okay, like I actually now think that you need to be a little bit educated on geography in North America because I was shook. That conversation had me shook that you think it's walking distance from Alaska to Canada to Minnesota. And yeah, like, and also too, like, again, I don't expect you to know the provinces in Canada, but Minnesota, Canada, like, I don't know. I guess, I can't fault him because he's from the UK, but still, I was like, what the heck? Like, you actually think the states in Canada is that small that you can just walk door to door to each other? Oh my gosh. Anyways, I thought that was literally hilarious. Okay, so the next morning we see that, okay, first of all, it's funny because we see two things, like opposite ends of the spectrum. We see Ollie and AD, like, smooching away, having a great old time. It was like they've known each other forever. And then we see Clayton and Juliet, like, he's like, oh yeah, maybe we should actually kiss so that it's not awkward, so that we actually practice, so that, our kissing looks good or whatever. And so they just start kissing. I'm like, Clayton, that is so awkward. So now I'm like, okay, this is the Clayton that I feel like I know. Like, this feels very familiar, Clayton, because I was just so awkward. So awkward. Like, who says that? Oh, yeah, I think maybe we should practice our kissing so that it looks good and that it's not awkward. That's awkward. You wanting to practice your kissing is what is awkward. Anyways, so that's why I'm like, they are the weakest couple, clearly. And I mean, Clayton doesn't think so, but to me, it seems it. If you have to ask someone to kiss so that it's not awkward later, you're a weak couple, okay? Just saying. Okay, so then they go into this challenge, and I mean, are all the challenges this lame? This challenge was so, I mean, obviously people are not watching this challenge for crazy challenges, right? Like, we have other shows for that, like The Challenge, but They're literally just in a raft. They have to go back and forth, retrieve a card, and they have to retrieve it with their mouth and bring it back with their mouths and rope back in and go to the end, and you have to bring 3 in and you can't use your hands and whatever. Literally whatever. Like, it was so lame. Madison and Cody end up winning. And at this point, I'm like, okay, they won the challenge. So clearly they're good at communicating. It seemed like Madison was into Cody. Obviously, Cody is very into Madison. That is obvious. I bought that she was into him. So then they go into the boardroom. And basically in the boardroom is kind of where you can honestly just really change up the game. I guess every time you go into the boardroom, it changes who pops up, women or men. In this case, it was men. So there was 4 men. And what this couple gets to do is they can choose 2 out of the 4 men to come into the house. I was about to say villa, because that's a Love Island term. Come into the house and be partnered up with someone. So essentially you're breaking up a match, matching someone else with that match, or you can match up yourself with one of the people there. So we see, I mean, I thought what they did made sense from the standpoint of like, we're not going to rock the boat. You know, who's the woman in the weakest couple? And obviously that was Juliet. So they're like, okay, who do we want Juliet to be paired up with? And literally I was like, oh, Carrington was here, and I was like, oh, wait a second, I know him. If I saw his face, I don't think I would have like caught on that fast that it was Carrington. But I mean, how many people do you know that's named Carrington? So as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, Carrington from Love Island. I think he was on season 2. And I mean, I'm sorry, but he just seems like a massive walking red flag. Even when he came in, I'm just like, no, you seem like a red flag. But anyways, I thought, you know, we'll see how that pairing goes. What I thought was very interesting, and obviously Netflix is doing this, you know, to spark drama. They brought in JR. And JR was on the ultimatum with Sandy. And Sandy and JR were matched up. And I mean, okay, so on the ultimatum, as you know, you kind of leave your partner for someone else and you experience, I think, a month with them and then you come back. Sandy experienced the month with JR, and let's just say it was not good. Not good at all. Like, talk about a literal walking red flag. So when they were talking, when Madison and Cody were trying to match people up and talking about matching Sandy up with JR, I'm like, no, don't do this to this poor girl. Do not bring this man on, and do not do this to this poor girl because she's already experienced JR. No, thank you. But then Madison, you know, her interest is piqued, and I'm not surprised that she went for Freddie. I'm really not, because quite honestly, Freddie is a beautiful man. And I've always loved Freddie. I love Freddie. So I'm surprised that he wasn't an OG cast, but I guess they do have to bring in like heavy hitters throughout the season so that it intrigues them to match either themselves up. Actually, yeah, like I feel like if the more heavy hitters they bring throughout the season, the more I guess you probably want to break through your couple and match up with them. Maybe if you're not feeling your couple. And I mean, I think it's just to keep things interesting too. But I was surprised. Like, I mean, you have like a Cody who I literally have no idea who he is, and he's first cast over Freddie. But I get it. Like, Freddie is a big name, and you know that's gonna keep people wanting to watch into episode 2 onwards. Madison chooses Freddie. Surprise, surprise. Not really. I mean, Cody was surprised. So I mean, I think I was just surprised because I was like, oh, like I actually thought she was really into Cody. But then also too, it's like, this is literally episode 1. So I think it's fine that she's exploring. And like I said, if Freddie was there, I don't know who would have not chosen to go with him. I'm sorry. So anyways, that's kind of where this episode ends, actually. It ended at learning who the matches were. And then basically these two are now going to go on a date. And obviously we're going to see the date in episode 2. And I'll recap that in episode 2. So overall, so far, I'm enjoying it. Like, I was glued to the screen. And I think it's a good cast. And we'll just, you know, see kind of what happens going forward. But I'm really enjoying it. And I'm enjoying learning about the show as I go because I literally could not remember how the show worked at all. So, anyways, before we go, I do want to just hit on Clayton for a little bit because I do think it is good to hear background and context over him, what he's had to overcome, because I think you'll see him in a new light on your screen as you're watching him on the show. So obviously, we know Clayton was on Katie Thurston's season of, or maybe you don't know. He was on Katie Thurston's season of The Bachelorette. He did not make it far at all. Like he was, I want to say maybe 9th, 8th out. Actually, maybe like 6 or 7. Anyways, he didn't make it far. So typically, I mean, he made it far-ish, but typically The Bachelor is usually top 4. So when Clayton was announced as The Bachelor, everyone was like, who is this guy? We don't care about this guy because he was barely on the season, Katie season. And like I said, he was out 6th, 7th, 8th. Like he was out very early on. A lot of people just didn't care for him to be The Bachelor. He becomes The Bachelor, so he's already dealing with that backlash. Becomes The Bachelor and has an insane season. And we're going to see Rachel Recchia comes in on Perfect Match. I don't know when she comes in. Maybe she'll come in on episode 2. And I mean, if they pair him up with Rachel, that's going to be insane. But anyways, she was on his season and he was a hot mess. He was honestly like a producer's dream in the sense of he would just do anything that the producers said and wanted him to do. Basically kind of like a producer's puppet. And basically at the end of the season, when there was 3 girls, he comes out and tells the girls, tells Rachel and tells Gabby Windy, you know Gabby from Traitors. If you watch Traitors, you know Gabby. He basically tells these girls that he was intimate with both of them, with Gabby and Rachel. And I mean, keep in mind, this is like right at the end. So that sparked so much controversy, like so much. Like he was like the most hated Bachelor because everyone is like, why would you tell both of them together that you were intimate with both of them? Like that is insane. And then Susie comes up in this episode. Susie was also in the final 3, which Clayton like ends up with after the show. Clayton never got engaged. He's like one of the only bachelors that didn't get engaged on his season and basically ended his season single. Like that is like really doesn't happen. And yeah, he had this rose ceremony from hell. That's what they call it, where he told both of them he was intimate with both of them to their face together. So now they both hate him, right? Like it's so bad. The way that it all played out is it's what you don't do when you're the Bachelor, right? And I mean, if that's something that you want to tell someone like each other separately, fine. But the fact again that he just did it with them together, it was just a whole shock value. So then bring Susie in, and Susie did not want him to be intimate with any of the girls. And so when she finds out that he was intimate with both, not one, but 2, and not Susie, she leaves. She left because she was just like, I want to be with you, but I can't deal with the fact that you were intimate with not 1, but 2 when I said I didn't want you to be intimate with them. So she leaves. So basically now this Bachelor, had 30 girls there for him. And now the final 3, none of them want anything to do with him. So he basically ends up alone. At the end of the episode, Susie ends up coming back. Obviously, I'm sure that was like producer produced. And nothing really happens. It was kind of like, they kind of made up. They ended up dating for a year after the show. Let's just say that. Okay, so that's the context. Him and Susie end up breaking up. One thing that I want to say that happened during their relationship is a girl faked that she was with Clayton the night before and they hooked up, or she says that she was with Clayton the night before in, I want to say like New York or something like that. or somewhere. I don't remember where, but she was like, I was with Clayton. She came out on Instagram. I was with him. I didn't realize it was him or whatever. And then, he was with Susie. So then now, like, it's public that he cheated with Susie, but he didn't. This girl, first of all, thought it was, or says that she thought it was Clayton. It was not. Clayton had to come out with, like, he figured out how you could, like, find your location from a certain time, and he did that. He came out on Instagram. So he was already accused of cheating on his girl. Like, he was accused of this once, and he had to redeem himself. Obviously, he was public enemy number one, because now, oh my gosh, he cheated on Susie, but he didn't. Like, he came out with the receipts, and that was squashed. A few years later, this girl, Laura Owens, comes into the picture, and honestly, it is such a crazy, crazy, crazy story. But to just sum it up really quickly, Clayton became a real estate agent in Arizona, and Laura Owens finds him, I guess, like, through LinkedIn, and says, hey, like, I want to buy a house from you. I'm ready to buy a house or a few houses or whatever. She comes for money. Okay, whatever. Long story short, one thing leads to another, and they end up, hooking up. But they don't go all the way. Just, hooking up, but not all the way. Like, second base, let's say. So after that happens, he's like, no, like, this, I've taken it too far. Like, this is strictly professional. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, thank you, goodbye kind of thing. I think, like, I can recommend you another real estate agent. Like, we passed the line of professionalism, and I don't want to do this anymore. She comes in a few days later and tells him that she's pregnant. And, I mean, keep in mind, they went to second base. So you're kind of doing the math. And the math isn't mathing. So long story short, there's podcasters, Dave Neal, who I very, very much listen to. And that is how I kept up with this case. He was championing for Clayton because he was like, just, this isn't adding up. Reality Steve also was championing Clayton too, and they were really the only people talking about this because a lot of people just didn't want to touch this topic. Laura Owens is claiming that she's pregnant and is faking a pregnancy when they literally, like I said, only basically went to second base. And long story short, things come out that she actually did this to other guys in the past, fake that she had ovarian cancer, fake that she was pregnant, she had many miscarriages that she said that she has. Like, all of this is an absolute lie. And so for years, she has tormented Clayton and has just gone through lawsuit after lawsuit. This is just made out of nowhere because the guy didn't want her. He didn't want to be with her. And so she makes up that she's pregnant and basically would threaten him with, have an abortion if you be with me kind of thing. Like, it was just very, very manipulative tactics, like very disgusting, actually. So she was actually just recently arrested for seven counts. Again, this has been a few years in the making. So I just wanted to provide, there's a lot. I haven't even touched the surface on it, but I just wanted to provide a little bit of background and context on Clayton and what he's gone through, because I do think you are going to see him in a different light as you're watching him on the show. The guy has been through so much. He's been through so much. And I really just empathize with him a lot, because even though he's been through what he's been through, like, has been dragged through the ringer, and so many people, like, his name has been slandered so many times, and he's always had to, defend himself when, the first girl that made up that he cheated on his girlfriend with, to this girl that is faking that she's pregnant, and, like, literally, like, she would go to the extent of, like, going to court and saying, like, he needs to pay for child support, and Clayton told the judge, like, there's no child. Like, there's no child for me to pay child support with. And the judge is like, wait, what do you mean? She says she's pregnant. He's like, she's not. So this girl, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Honestly, if you want to learn more about the case, go to Dave Neal's YouTube channel. He has a whole over 100 episodes on it. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I've been following it. So I believe she has like a deposition trial or something like that in a week or two. And again, like, she has a mugshot. She was charged. So whether she goes to jail or not is to be seen yet, but it's still going on. And like I said, it's just nice to see him, you know, he took up dancing because he was just going through so much, and he just found like dancing was his safe space. And I think you'll see him in a different light knowing that story. So like I said, I really didn't touch on the surface. There is so much involved in that story, but I hope, you know, when you see Clayton, I hope you're rooting for him because he has been through a lot. So I will be back in a few, you know, before you know it, to recap probably episode 2 and 3 of Perfect Match. Like I said, I am really enjoying this season so far. It's only episode 1, so it's early, but I have high hopes because I have seen online that people are also really enjoying it too. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll do it for me today. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Please rate, subscribe, review, do all of the things. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at yourrealitycheck.pod. And I cannot wait to chat with you in the next episode. Bye.